Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew White from the Business Transformation Center here at Ingram Micro. And today we have a special guest who's going to be talking a little bit about why to move from Perpetual over to a new offer, which is going to allow your customers to get some updates and things like that as they continue to use some of Cisco's great solutions for software out there.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Chris Heinrich. I'm a senior technology consultant with Ingram Micro. I've been with Ingram Micro for about 10 years now. And inside of those 10 years, I've been focused and concentrated on the Cisco collaboration solutions for all of those 10 years. So it's my pleasure to be here today to talk to you guys about the shift from moving a perpetual on-premise calling customer to a flex annuity offer.
So we've had a decent number of questions on why to do that move. So why are we wanting our end customers to go from that perpetual that maybe they've already paid for, maybe they're not currently paying a reoccurring subscription cost to that one? Why would they want to move over to this new offer?
So that's a great question, Matt. And there's a few good answers. The first one is from a partner's perspective, eventually they're going to have to get into this motion and moving their customers to the Flex 3.0 annuity offer. The reasoning for that was when Cisco announced Flex 3 on September 23rd of last year, they also announced some very important end of life, end of sale dates for perpetual licensing. That would apply to both the Business Edition 7000, so the enterprise customers, 1,000 users and above, or the Business Edition 6000, which would be sub 1,000 users. All of those perpetual licenses, the User Connect licensing, UCL, the Cisco Unified Workspace licensing, or COOL, those are all going away. And actually, as we speak today, the Business Edition 7000 solution actually is end of sale. It did go end of sale in January of this year. BE6K was announced in January of this year, and it will soon be end of sale come April 24th. So we have about a month left of perpetual for BE6K. And I'm actually telling partners to not even look at perpetual if it's a new customer for BE6K because it doesn't make any sense, right? So that's the first one, right? Perpetual licensing in Swiss is really no longer available for those customers, right? So if you are a partner that have sold a premise-based solution with perpetual licensing, which was the common licensing to position, you now have to start paying attention to how you're going to satisfy your customers and moving them over to this new Flex 3.0 offer. There's also some great benefits with the annuity offer, right? First off, it's an annuity offer. So it provides flexibility to your customers on how they want to be billed, right? There's monthly bill options, there's annual bill options, and there's prepaid options depending on the length of the term. A term can start at 1 year, more commonly 3 years, and up to 5 years. And there's significant discounts built into some of the upfront pricing, depending on what type of solutions you're looking at. The other really nice package part of the Flex 3 offer is it includes both calling and meeting capabilities in one offer, so one subscription. So you can leverage Webex meetings with all those cool features like the Webex Meetings Assistant, add on your additional Webex audio plans right through the Webex meeting solution. And then you can actually tie in your calling, whether that's premise-based on-prem calling, or it's cloud-based calling, or maybe the customer is looking to migrate to the cloud in the future. This kind of paves the way for that, right? This Flex plan includes all of those different flexible options to choose from and package and price out to your customer.
And that's one of those misnomers that I hear from multiple customers is they think that moving over to the new offer is going to mean that they have to move to cloud. And that's not true at all. I mean, you can definitely go through and move to the new offer and just stay with your current on-prem solution or do a hybrid. I mean, you don't have to really make that move today, but you can make that move when you want to, or just stay on-prem completely if you wanted to as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. That's one of the most common misconceptions with the Flex plan is most people think that it's just cloud-based solutions because it's an annuity offer, and that is not the case. And the other misconception is that premise-based calling solutions are going away, and that's just not the case. Cisco is dedicated and committed to maintaining and building out that on-premise architecture for calling. They've been doing it for years now. Version 14 is on the brink of release next week, or next month, should I say. So there is a lot of commitment to those platforms. Now you just have to consider licensing those platforms via the Flex 3 annuity offer to take advantage of that. Now, there's also some benefits too, right? You brought up, cloud calling and premise calling, and there are a few things that partners can look at if they've sold, premise-based calling solutions to their customer in the past and they have perpetual licenses. Having that conversation about moving them into Flex, they can maintain their premise call control. They're just moving their licensing from perpetual to Flex. But the opportunity is to have a discussion around what that premise-based solution is running on. What type of servers are they? Do those servers require a hardware upgrade? Are there phones in the environment that possibly need to be upgraded? There's a lot of install base out there that has older 7900 series phones. While most of them still will work, there is some security risks, right? There's lack of firmware updates for those older devices because they're end of sale. So there's potential to upgrade hardware along the way. The other option is if the customer says, hey, this is great. However, now is maybe really the time we're looking to maybe shift some of our technologies to the cloud, especially in the telephony world. And the Flex solution paves the way for that. Because even if they start with perpetual licensing for on-prem, at any point in time, they can pivot and migrate to the cloud. And Cisco has a few cloud offers that are part of the Flex 3 solution that can fit their bill, right? There's UCM in the cloud for larger customers, which is essentially Cisco Unified Communications Manager, hosted in Cisco's data center, sold through the partner, through Flex 3. And then there's the Webex calling solution, which is a little bit different on the back end, but it has become a very feature-rich and robust cloud telephony solution from Cisco. And there's lots of benefits to positioning that solution as relates to an on-premise solution that a customer may be looking to move away from. So there's a very good opportunity, both not only from a hardware upgrade standpoint, if the customer wants to remain on-prem, or on a migration standpoint, moving into the cloud.
So when somebody has a on-prem solution currently, and maybe they're paying for a support on that on-prem solution already, so maybe they have a Cisco contract currently, and they're looking to make this move, do they get any benefits or any type of discounts for making the move currently?
Yeah, so let's talk about customers that are under Swiss support for the perpetual licensing, and then let's talk about customers that are not under support, because there are a bunch of customers that have lacked to or failed to renew their support. So for those customers that have maintained Swiss or ECMU on those perpetual licenses, UCL and Cool, what Cisco is suggesting is you as partners determine when that Swiss renewal date is going to be, and 60 to 90 days out, start having the conversation with the customer around migrating that solution to the Flex 3 offer. Okay, and I'll actually throw out a few examples here because there are some things that partners may want to be aware of, and certain things that are permissible with Flex and Perpetual alongside each other in certain customer scenarios, right? So let's take a customer that may have just renewed Swiss last year for 3 years, so they have 2.5 years left in Swiss, right? By the way, most of these platforms are not officially end of support until 2024. So we are good on that front, right, from a perpetual licensing standpoint. So their Swiss is still good, right? They have 2.5 years remaining, so they're not ready to make that shift wholly to the annuity platform. Now let's just use a 250 user environment, business edition 6,000 customer. Okay? That customer comes back to you in 6 months. Okay, they're still under 2 years of support. Okay, and they say, I need to add 50 more users to my BE6K environment. We're adding a new location. And you say, well, that's great. And then you go to add the add-on licenses that are perpetual in nature, and guess what? They're no longer available. So what Cisco is suggesting is one of two things. Because this customer has 2 years of Swiss remaining, you could actually create a new Flex 3 annuity offer for the 50 add-on licenses, configure that in CCW, get a subscription for that, and add those users to the environment. Now, because Flex 3 is annuity, there is no Swiss that couples with it. It's a subscription. Support and upgrades are built into that subscription cost. So at this point, that customer will have 50 users under Flex 3, and they'll maintain the 250 users of whatever they had, cool standard, with the Swiss for the 2 years remaining. And when the Swiss comes up for renewal, at that point, they'll go back to that existing subscription with the 50 users on it, and they'll modify it, not create a new one, modify it, add the 250 to that subscription, make 300 total, and at that point, that customer will fully be moved into Flex 3. Now let's use a different, same customer, however, they only have a year left in Swiss, okay? 6 months down the road, they want to add 50 more users. Now you as a partner can have the conversation of this. Why don't we move this customer, because now they only have 6 months of Swiss left, let's move their 250 users to the Flex 3 offer, add in the additional 50, so we have a total of 300. By the way, that's going to be an enterprise agreement under the Flex 3 offer. And Cisco will provide you a Swiss residual credit for whatever is remaining on your perpetual ECMU licenses, right? So the 6 months that are remaining, Cisco will apply that credit to the Flex 3 contract, and the customer then would be shifted over to the Flex 3 and as future-proofed for whatever they want to do moving forth. So those are the two examples. There's another realistic example that I'll kind of point out here. There's a customer that maybe is coming up for Swiss renewal in 2 months, okay? Another common scenario. I'll use the same customer, 250 users, and they're not ready to make the move to annuity, right? For whatever reason, right? They're just pushing back on it. They don't want to do it. While Cisco strongly suggests paving the way, getting them into the new Flex 3 offer, which I would strongly suggest as well. We can highlight the benefits to the customer. We can illustrate why they should do this, right? So reach out to me and Matt. We'll have that discussion with you and your customer. But if they really don't want to, they're kicking and screaming, they could theoretically renew their Swiss if it hasn't lapsed, okay? If they're still under Swiss, they could probably do this for, I'd say, just another year, right? You don't want to do a renewal for 3 more years because that's going to push them out into 2025. And guess what? The last date of official support by Cisco is in 2024. So they're going to be paying for something that they're not getting support on, right? But then again, going back to that add-on stuff, those licenses, those perpetual licenses are no longer available. So eventually they're going to have to add in the annuity offer to their billing model.
Nice. Now, you mentioned enterprise agreements there briefly. Is there any other advantage for them to go to that new enterprise agreement?
Yeah, there's plenty of advantages with an enterprise agreement. So let's define what an enterprise agreement is first. So an enterprise agreement is essentially, it's pretty easy in the collaboration world. If it's 250 knowledge workers or more, it's considered an enterprise agreement, right? And this would apply for the Webex meetings portion as well as the Webex calling solution under Flex 3.0. With enterprise agreements as it relates to calling, well, it is in meetings as well, Cisco provides 20% growth upfront in that agreement. So that customer that had 250 users, they would actually get 300 provisioned upfront because 20% is included. And they will get access to the core applications if they're staying perpetual or on-prem. So they will get Unified Communications Manager, Unity Connection, emergency responders included with all offers now. They're going to get access to SRST for the environment, Expressway software. They're going to get rich media licenses for that Expressway software if they want to. They're going to get common area licensing, 50% common area licensing. And those will be used for phones that are common phones, like conference phones or lobby phones or wall phones. They're going to get access to analog licenses as well. And these will all be provisioned and accessible through their smart account because most of the Flex 3 offer is based upon version 12.x and higher. So significant amount of benefits in an EA. Also, with every EA, whether it's meetings or calling, you get access to the Webex app, which provides functionality for messaging capabilities, persistent messaging, the formerly known as Webex Teams app. Okay. Also, from a calling perspective, the Webex app is a fully featured soft client, right? So voice, video, all your common controls, mid-call controls that you'd want in a soft client is now baked into that client. And by the way, that client is going to be the single client on a user's desktop very soon. Okay, so for meetings, calling, messaging, all in one, it's going to be that client. You also get device registration entitlement. You may say, well, what's that for? Every user, theoretically, in the environment could theoretically have a Desk Pro, right? Maybe DX80, right? Basically, those device registration entitlements provide video registration entitlement to register video devices to the Webex cloud, right? Not to CUCM. There are some additional telepresence rooms licensing included for CUCM, but the direction I believe from Cisco is to register more of those video devices to the cloud, right? It just makes more sense.
Right. And as part of that, I mean, they could get the cloud connected UC add-on to the new Flex 3 to be able to tie their on-prem solution into the cloud, to be able to see it from the dashboard and still be able to have some of those insights. But you're right, like more and more people are moving those devices just straight up to the cloud, getting all those features and all those updates as they come out. So was there anything else that you think that these people should know about when they're moving from Perpetual to the Flex offer?
Yeah, a few things. I want to circle back to the Swiss real fast. We didn't cover if a customer was out of Swiss. Okay, if they've lapsed on support, there is no more reinstatement for support contracts. So that is a customer that we need to start having this conversation with, migrating them to the Flex 3 offer because they are out of support. No longer are there upgrade SKUs available, and no longer is there Swiss on that upgrade to get that customer back under support to get support from Cisco TAC or perform version upgrades. It's no longer applicable. They'll have to migrate to the Flex 3. And like I said, once they get the Flex 3, there is no support Swiss, so you don't have to manage that anymore, which is a good thing, because it's all built into that subscription cost. And you still get access to all these software upgrades. You still get access to support through Cisco TAC. So you have that fully baked solution inside of that subscription offer. A few other things as it relates to the offers, right? If you are a partner and you start a contract out with 3 years or higher, and by default in Cisco Commerce Workspace for Flex 3, it starts at 36 months. You actually have to adjust it to 12 months if you want the customer to have only a year. However, there's a significant benefit if you started at 3 years in the form of a 12% additional discount on top of what you already get on those subscription licenses. So partners could theoretically achieve up to 49% off list price cost if you started a 3-year contract, right? And that applies for both named user and enterprise agreement offers.
Nice. I'm sure everybody's going to be excited about those.
Yeah. The
So,
other thing that I want to point out too, and another common question is, because Flex 3 is like the third iteration of Annuity. Annuity is not anything new to Cisco. Okay. There's been a few actually offers. There's the AWX offer, really, really old. A SPK offer, really, really old. A Flex, which a lot of customers have, which is Flex 2.0, as Cisco calls it. And now there's a Flex 3, which is Flex 3.0, which is what we've been talking about and highlighting. It's not anything new as it relates to Cisco. However, the Flex 3 offer has the most current feature set and functionality that a customer would want at the best cost. And as related to the old Flex offer, there used to be what Cisco called value transfer credits. So not only did they apply Swiss residual for any Swiss remaining on a customer's, but they also provided a value transfer credit per user per month, depending on that investment that the customer had already made. So that example, 250 cool standard licenses, there was a specific dollar amount that Cisco applied per user per month for the duration of that contract through renewal for that customer. I'm happy to say that that is no longer applicable in Flex 3. Then you may say, well, why are you happy to say that? We're not getting that additional credit anymore. Well, you are. Cisco just updated the list price cost up front to reflect that credit anyways. So you don't have to go through any of that process and procedure to get that stuff manipulated and added to the contract. It's already there, right? So it's easier.
yeah. And one of the things that you had mentioned when you were going through those different pieces of the different offers that are currently available, one that I do get questions on sometimes is a work 3 offer as well that's out there. So if somebody's moving from a perpetual to the cloud using a work 3, does that still qualify for any of those additional discounts? Or is that then considered because it's designed for greenfield customers, do they not get those?
Yeah, so A-Work3 is really designed for the greenfield customer, and A-Work3 is a new offer. It is replacing the old A-Work offer. So Cisco did unveil that about a month ago, A-Work3. It's designed for the cloud customer in mind, right? There is no premise-based call control options in A-Work3. It's designed around bundled users. However, with A-Work3, you have some flexibility to configure non-bundle users, which was new, right? A-Work, the traditional option, was built around bundled user, that Webex meetings user, Webex app user, and Webex calling user, all bundled in one license. It was cost effective and positioned very nicely, but it was designed around greenfield customers. It's also based upon a utility consumption model, which is the only subscription in collaboration that Cisco has that's based upon that model. And what I mean by that is, if you want your customer to be billed based upon committed usage and maybe uncommitted users, you can do that through A-Work and A-Work3. And I'll use an example of, it's designed for the SMB, so smaller customers. Well, I'll use an example of 50 users environment, right? 50 users using the bundled service, right? The Webex meetings, the Webex app, and Webex calling. That customer has some, temporary workers that come in and may work a week, may work a month, may work a few months, depending on projects that are going on, right? And at this point, it really doesn't make sense to fully license these people because they're temporary workers, right? They're not on full time. So in this example with committed and uncommitted, we can actually configure subscription in CCW for 50 committed because we have 50 people that are employed full time that are going to use these services. And in the control hub, where you would configure and add users, the partner or the customer would be able to add in those temporary workers however they see fit, provision them for the services however they see fit. So if you have a user that needs all the bundled services, they can provision for all those. Or if you have users that may just need messaging or meeting and not calling, you can provision it for those. And what Cisco's going to do, without actually making a change to the subscription in Cisco Commerce Workspace, they're going to bill based upon committed and uncommitted users. Those 10 users that we're adding would be uncommitted users, right? And those uncommitted users will be billed per the day based upon the services that they're using. And in CCW, you would actually see the price per day for the services like messaging, like meetings, like calling, right? So it's the only offer that's based upon this utility consumption model that Cisco provides for collaboration. Now, from a migration standpoint, you don't really have that many benefits and options, right? If you have a customer that's migrating, Flex 3 would probably be the way to go because you're going to get your Swiss credits, and you're going to have the ability to configure and add in additional solutions that you may need, whatever, depending on whatever the customer's doing, right? If they're moving to cloud, they're going to need firmware licenses maybe for the phones, right? Enterprise to MPP, right? For 78s and 88s that are supported, right? You also have to check the version of hardware in those phones to make sure they're supported for the migration. But that is not a capability in A-Work3. You can't add the firmware migration licenses because it's designed around greenfield and new customers. But if you want any additional information on that, feel free to reach out. If you've sold a customer A-Work in the past, you can actually migrate them to A-Work3 in Cisco Commerce Workspace. You would do a change replace to their A-Work subscription. And Cisco is actually providing an incentive where they'll actually provide 3 months free to move customers to A-Work3. And they're actually allowing this to happen midterm as well. So you don't have to wait till renewal.
Nice. So I guess to wrap this all up then, if somebody is currently on a perpetual offer and they're thinking about migrating them over to the new Flex offer or an A-Work or something like that, is it better to do that now when they're in the middle of their subscription, or is it better to wait until the end? I like get a lot of those type of questions, like where should I start having these conversations with these end customers?
It's based upon the customer, right? Some customers say, I'm not ready to do this yet, and I still have a significant amount of support remaining, a couple of years maybe, and they're okay with where they're at. Other customers may not have that much support left, and Cisco, like I said, is suggesting 60 to 90 days out to have this conversation with the customer to get them prepped and ready. Also illustrating some of the benefits we talked about with the offers, with the plans, with the pricing, all of that stuff, to show them the value that they're getting moving to the solution. And and the reason why Cisco is making that shift to that annuity offer. I think one of the biggest questions is from a customer is, why do I have to pay for something that I've already paid for? Which is a great question, but if you can illustrate the return on investment, the TCO, based upon what the costs are going to look like for that unique customer on Flex 3 with the benefits, the Flex 3 solution wins almost every time. Okay. And if it's up against something competitive, right, because there is a window for that, definitely get your Cisco account management team involved, because they can look at those things and make adjustments based upon that competitive pressure as well. Okay. So there's lots of things to consider. From a Cisco partner's perspective, however, the benefit is, right, if it's a customer that you may only sold calling to, there's significant expansion opportunity with that customer, because not only now are you maintaining their telephony business, whether it's premise, but in the future, you're paving their way to move to Cisco cloud solutions. If they want to do that, you can add in additional features like Webex meetings with the Webex app, Webex meetings assistant. If they're moving to Webex calling for cloud, there's the Webex PSTN service now. There's lots of things that you can basically capture that full customer wallet with Flex 3. And you have access to that, and you have that customer through that subscription. That's a very easy model for the customer to understand.
Well, thank you, Chris. That was a lot of information, and I'm sure that our audience has enjoyed it. And again, if you have any questions and want to follow up with this with either myself or Chris, feel free to reach out. And if you're looking for build material help, we also have our solution design and services team here at Ingram Micro that can help you do that build part by part comparison to what you might already have with Perpetual, so we can make sure that they're moving over correctly over into the new Flex offer. So again,
Excellent.
thank you for joining us. And
Can I
Chris,
just
thanks for
interrupt real
joining
quick?
us.
I got
Sure,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing to say, and this is to all the partners that may be listening. This hopefully all of you, or some of you, most of you should be familiar with Cisco Annuity, right? Because like I said, it's been around for a few years. What I will tell you is, if you're not, definitely reach out to myself and Matt and let us educate you on that, because this is the wave of the future. This is where the future is going for all of Cisco collaboration, right? And it's a very different selling model, right, versus perpetual licensing. I hate to say it, it's obviously, CapEx versus OpEx, but from a sales perspective, even down to the the account manager level, you should fully understand the processes that are behind a collaboration subscription, not just the offer itself and positioning it, which you'll have to understand, but also once the customer says, yeah, I'm ready to make this move, what it looks like to you as a partner, right? Because it's not a perpetual license anymore. It's not a Swiss contract anymore. So you don't have to manage that through the renewals team. However, you do have to start to understand how this is sold through the subscription, and when customers want to make changes, how to make those modifications to that existing subscription already. Ingram Micro has a dedicated pre-sales, SD&S team that can help with those modifications, and they have a dedicated software team that can help with the processing of that. There's also some very specific things around the provisioning piece that's different depending on what you're configuring, right? It's not just a one and done, right? So when we ask specific information around processing orders for these subscriptions, and we ask for a provisioning contact, that provisioning contact should probably be an engineer at your, at the partner, right? Not necessarily a sales rep, and no offense to the sales reps, but the provisioning piece is something that a traditional engineer would handle. And we see a lot of partners not necessarily doing that right, and it impacts the experience with the customer, and it also impacts the experience with the partner. So we want to make sure that you fully understand from start to finish the benefits of the solution. When the customer says, yeah, I want to do this, how we would actually configure it if it's new or if it's an add-on, and then how that process is handled through our software team, because it's a much different process than your traditional perpetual licenses. And if you are one of those partners, reach out to us. We will do a deep dive one-on-one and have that conversation with you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, again, thanks for everybody for joining us. Feel free to tune into another one of these videos. If you haven't checked out any of the other ones here, make sure you do. ImagineX www.ingrammicro.com/Cisco-virtual-learning is a great resource to actually check out any of the offerings and videos and stuff like that we help you walk through some of the stuff that's available to you. So don't hesitate to look around, see what else is out there, and again, reach out to us if you need any more help. Enjoy the rest of your day, and again, thank you, Chris, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody.